Hello everyone! I'm so glad you decided to join me today because I get so excited when I have people that are very interested in finding out what reconnective healing is all about. It's an exciting journey into something new, and for many people never heard of reconnective healing, and so I'm just pleased and honored to be able to share what it's all about and what's got me so excited and why I'm happy about the whole thing. Partly what happened to me and how I came across reconnective healing is because I had a near-death experience when I was 32 years old. And it took me a very long time to understand all of what took place and what it meant for me in my life. But it opened me very, very wide. And healing was always a piece following that near-death experience, because not only did I heal very, very quickly following it, and I never really understood why, but I also heard and understood that I would understand healing and that we all have the ability to heal ourselves. And when I was first processing that message, I thought, you've got to be kidding. How? We have a planet that's pretty sick. So I've been on a journey for a very long time trying to see if I can put the pieces together. And so I learned as much as I possibly can. I'm like a sponge for learning, and needed to find out as much as I could about the process of healing, what some of the new energy related healing modalities we're talking about. And then, because of my near-death experience, I was speaking at the International Association on Near-Death Studies in Chicago, and while I was there, someone mentioned, Dr. Eric Pearl's coming in another month or two. I thought, wow, okay, I need to meet this person. I hadn't heard of him, and I ended up rearranging my schedule to be able to be in Chicago for that weekend. And as soon as I picked up his book was laying there, and I have not read it yet. And so when I picked it up, something happened to me right away. I immediately had this vibrational level going on in my body, and I've learned to pay attention to that by that point. And it was like, wow. And after hearing him speak, I just couldn't wait to get started on that book. And when I read the book, each step of the way of his story, I kept thinking, wow, this is what I've been looking for. Oh my goodness, this is true. I understand what he's saying to us in this story. And Dr. Eric Pearl was a chiropractor in California at the time, early in the 90s, when he discovered reconnective healing frequencies, and it was quite by accident. He was, with his patients, finding that there was some channeled information that began coming through some of his patients, and 3 or 4 people were saying some of the same words to him, and yet none of them knew each other, nor did they understand what they were saying to Dr. Pearl. And he also began experiencing some absolutely incredible instant healing in some of the chiropractic patients that he was seeing. And when he finally began to realize and putting together that he really had a journey to figure out what was this new frequency, what was happening. And so his story is just captured my heart. And very soon after that, I just found that I needed to take the online course, the portal, and then the catalyst. I needed the live training, and then I went to the next level of training so I could be certified to facilitate the reconnection. And when I did that, I just was one thing after another. I just needed to be part of it. And I got very excited when I began my own practice. And a lot of people wonder, well, what really is reconnective healing? And it's a globally recognized, multi-dimensional field of energy that's a broader bandwidth, a broader spectrum of energy, light and information. And we are using and entering into that bandwidth and experiencing the frequencies that we're able to not bring, but actually they are there and we are connecting with them. We can feel energy. That's what we know. Science already knows and confirms that everything is energy. We have energy all around us. Everything around us, even the solid things, are all vibrating parts of matter. And our bodies are that same vibrational matter that is constantly vibrating. The science tells us an awful lot once we delve into that, and I'm going to talk about the science in just a little while, but Eastern medicine discovered way earlier than we did in the West about the energy field within our own bodies and the energy centers that are very powerful in the whole operating system of our self-healing body. We know the body has the ability to heal. We all know that. But what happens? What goes awry? And we're beginning to understand the potential of this energy to be able to heal through the vibration, and it's communicated through light. Now, research is beginning to show us that potentially we are restructuring our DNA, which is a fascinating study. And I'm so excited when I read some of the new things that are happening. And in a reconnective healing session, if we think about our hands and we direct our attention, because where our attention goes, energy goes. And you begin to realize that not only can we feel and sense the energy field, we're using every sense that we have. And we, in a reconnective healing session, we never touch a person's body because that energy is in the field. We also don't direct that healing to any particular place in the body because we're returning ourselves into that wholeness, that state of the well-being that we all are hoping stays with us and returns to. And when we are using our hands and the person that we are having on our healing table is we are actually entraining into a higher vibrational level of frequency. And our body begins, the energy around us begins to entrain with the higher vibrational level of the frequencies. And it entrains then with the other person, and we are connecting to our source, to God, to that source where we came from. We were born in light. And I know that from my near-death experience. I experienced that light. I experienced that unbelievable energy that is contained within light. And that field is around us. And when the communication is taking place, the communication is through light. As we entrain and we with the source, it's like all of us are connected. And I also learned that in my near-death experience so vividly, is that we are connected not only with each other, but with the universe, with our earth. And that's why there's two different types of healing that we can perform, that we can be facilitating, and that is the reconnective healing session itself, which we typically will do 1 to 3 sessions with someone, and the results are that person really connecting to that source of healing and allowing us to come back into a state of balance, and removing sometimes the emotional blocks and interferences that are holding us back from that healing. It brings more clarity and more focus into our life. We are really on that path of opening up and reconnecting to our source. The personal reconnection is a totally different type of healing session, which is done in 2 days. And the purpose of the personal reconnection is to accelerate that life path and expand it from wherever we are. Because every one of us is totally different in our path of understanding our spiritual journey in life and why we are here. The greater sense of peace and calm comes in either a reconnective healing session or in the personal reconnection. They have that in common, that sense of peace and calm, even in the most challenging of situations that you might be dealing with. We have challenging situations around us right now, and regardless of whether they're physical, emotional, spiritual, or mental, we are able to access the source of where all of those are coming from. The challenges that we've had in the past might well surface and be able to dissipate. The healing of the disease or the physical part of our body follows very often in that. But it's really important for everyone to understand that a facilitator of reconnective healing does not diagnose. We are not giving you medical advice. We aren't asking you what your medical condition is. We often have a beautiful dialogue with each other, but we don't need to know. This intelligence in the light around us knows. That body, that connection provides what the body needs. We don't need to direct it to a particular place. In fact, we don't even really need to know if there's anything wrong with you at all. Now, there is a difference. The personal reconnection is one that when we do it, the 2-day session is there because we're actually taking you into a unique experience that is taking you back into the system of intelligence that's connecting. That word reconnection is really important. Reconnecting us to the meridian and energy centers in our body, to the same type of energy centers that exist in our earth, in our world. The earth also has meridian lines, and the ley lines of the earth is what we are reconnecting us back to. Through the human evolution, we've somehow lost, and we tend to get away from that connection we have to source. And this is a way to connect back, because believe me, by near-death experience, dying is not the way you want to connect. We want to connect, and you can do it through reconnective healing and through an experience that's totally unique to you as an individual. And again, we're not touching the body in any way, but we are connecting the points and the meridians that we have in our body, the lines that actually will connect us to that global ley lines that exist in our universe. We're actually made up of those same kind of ingredients. Our bodies are so powerful, we have no clue. And when we can reconnect that, it just opens doors and pathways for us. It's beautiful. We're actually, as the person who is facilitating a healing, we're a receiver. We are receiving, and we're like a Bluetooth, the receiver. That's a great analogy these days because we understand the Bluetooth connection. It can be sitting right there, But if we don't connect it, then it's like it's not there. But once we connect it, the information and things come right back to us. And that's what we are as a facilitator. We're the receiver. We're not the director. That's actually the really good news. We are allowing it to infuse in the person we're with and within ourselves. The title of that book, of Heal Others, Heal Yourself, is actually very significant because through the entrainment of our messages are coming through, that we heal ourselves as we're healing another. And it's for everybody. And you know, the scientists are telling us some really good news. I want to introduce you to one of the scientists that helped Dr. Pearl on his research. He has a book called Science Confirms Reconnective Healing. And in that, we see that he is using a number of researchers, and one of the ones I wanted to introduce you to is Dr. Schwartz, Dr. Gary Schwartz. I had met him earlier because of IONS, because speaking at the International Conference in Seattle a few years ago, I met and heard Dr. Schwartz talk, and he was giving information about why near-death experiences are teaching us a lot about how our universe operates. But what is really exciting, he works through the University of Arizona, and it was a Yale professor at Yale at one point in time, but he's working with the National Institute of Health. And you can even go on the National Institute of Health's website and find him and the work that he did with Reconnective Healing. He was comparing the different modalities of healing modalities, and he was also taking a group that was a placebo type of a group, and then Reconnective Healing, Reiki, and many other energy modalities. And in typical treatment of physical therapy, and comparing the results. And it's fascinating information. And I thought I would share something that he shared, because they were also using EKG, which is an imprint of our heart, the ultrasound of our heart, and the imprint in our brain, the EEG, and seeing what was happening not only with the environment around before and after a healing, but also remembering the environment in and around afterwards. He found huge changes in the energy in the room where the healing was taking place, but they also found that in the body, their changes took place as well. And so those are extremely powerful information that's still being researched today. But I want to say his words because make sure I quote him correctly. Most significant in this third experiment is that whether or not the receiver was consciously aware of the energy, the EKG imprinted just the same. So there is unconscious energy detection that can be recorded magnetically, because the brain of the person receiving the healing, it was showing up in their brain. And that imprint is just a fascinating study that we don't understand all of it yet for sure. And another one of the researchers, which I was fascinated by, Dr. Konstantin Kurotikov, is from Russia and from St. Petersburg. And I had run across him earlier too, and that was because he has become quite well known for his research over the last 40 years to develop a new kind of camera that would take pictures of this energy field. So it fascinated me after my near-death experience, because he was also taking people who their soul was departing, and he was attempting to photograph the soul leaving the body. And I always wondered for my own self, because I left my body and was taken above and was absorbed into amazing white light, and what would that have looked like if somebody had been able to film that? So he always fascinated me. He admitted on his website that he was not quite so sure himself about reconnective healing, but he was doing the same kind of studies that Dr. Swartz was doing in Arizona about the energy level in the room, and was recording them, and they got very similar results from each other and about the energy in the room. But I think one of his comments that just really jumped out at me, that's on his website, is after seeing the results of the testing we did, I have no doubt that this is a new step in human development. Reconnective healing is absolutely different than other healing modalities. From experience, we have reached a very important conclusion. When we do reconnective healing, we tremendously change the environment. Testing done before and after healing shows a very large difference. Different people have different results. Some have higher results than others. We know that we're all different. We know we're all in different places on what our body is or is not doing. We also know and understand that there are influences in the environment and in and around us, and diseases that we're exposed to. All of those things have an effect on the health of our body. And so all of these things together and working towards spiritual wellness is what can bring our wholeness back into ourselves. Now, different healing modalities are definitely different from reconnective healing. Number one, many healing modalities are focusing down into one place in the body, or feeling that their hands need to be in a very particular place on the body for healing to take place, or they are feeling that they need props of some sort that they need to use and they need to have with them, or needs to be happening in the healing. And that's what was so refreshing for me as a person following my near-death experience. I knew it was more simple than that. It is very, very simple. And it's for everybody. Some healing modalities talk about it being exclusive to only certain people can be healers. And that's not true. We are all have the ability to be a healer. And I learned that. I knew that. And that's one of the things of reconnective healing which really brought me in, because I just knew that every person, we are all alike, we're all built alike. We just don't realize how powerful the human body is in that world. And that part of reconnective healing is just so important for us all. And you know, for myself, getting into the place during my near-death experience of no time, no space, understanding that time is not what we perceive it. And in our healing, we are moving out of time, space, into that multi-dimensional part of our universe. Makes me want to become a quantum physicist so I can learn more. But the truth is that there's still a lot we don't know. But let's open the door, because there's so many things that we didn't used to know about our world either, but we know now. And they've become scientific fact. The newness is what gets us into a place of fear, but there's nothing to fear. It's all beautiful. And the results are all positive, just different for every person. And so opening that door, that's what my near-death experience did to me. But I would love to open the door for you to a new experience. I've had some extremely powerful things happen during people's healing. And Dr. Pearl has many, many stories. And going to the reconnection and finding out all these information and stories and that people are doing, he's now training people globally And there are hundreds of thousands of people that now have been trained as reconnective healers. And I think that's a point for us to remember, is that globally, all human beings can access this field. And that's why a reconnective healing session can also be done at a distance, because the connection does not weaken with distance. It's in the field. And so I could do a healing with someone on the other side of the planet. Just not very few days ago, I did one with a person in Spain. And the results are powerful. And it doesn't weaken. And I think that's really important. That field does not weaken. And so we can do a distance healing. So I hope you join us. I hope you contact me or the Reconnection, because there's so much out there for all of us to learn. And I thank you for coming and joining me and learning more about a really exciting new thing in our world. Thank you.